fast later. Call me when you're feeling sick. Call me when you're feeling down. Call me when you need someone to talk. Call me when you're feeling lonely. Call me when you need somebody.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Altitude Podcast. Welcome to the Altitude Podcast. For people watching me on YouTube, obviously this is my first YouTube video. Yes, I know I've been talking about doing this for quite some time now, so I'm grateful and finally happy that I'm actually able to do this. Finally, I've been talking a lot about starting a YouTube, so hopefully you guys can welcome me to the YouTube family, and we're going to talk a bit and learn from each other. So obviously, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is McBrien, and I do run the Altitude Podcast. And I started the Altitude Podcast simply because I thought it would be a wonderful place or tool or medium for me to be able to communicate with you guys. Just talking about navigating life. I know for most of us, we're either adult or becoming adult, and I think that it's very important for us to try and navigate these things. We're talking about social issues, health issues, mental health issues, finances, which will be probably also a very cool thing that we're going to be talking about on this channel, so, and this podcast. So hopefully you guys can stick with me, and we're gonna have a blast. So obviously, do pardon me, it's gonna be a bit awkward. This is my first video, so I do apologize. So recently on my social media, I did ask a couple of people to send me their thoughts on a topic. So I just wanted to know how they felt about discussing their financial issues, not necessarily financial issues, but their finances per se, or investments with either their family or their partners. And I wanted to hear what people had to say. So today I'm going to be talking a bit about that, as an addition to just Finance 101, simply how to make investments, as growing adult, or as people becoming adults. Very soon we're going to be going into the world, and we're going to have to make some really important decisions. Like, a lot of people do not realize that we're almost either out of school or going to be out of school soon, and the world is just there for us to explore. There's so much that we're being sheltered out of. So I just kind of thought like it would be a wonderful idea for me to just share with you guys some of the things that I think are important. So I did ask the question of whether or not you should tell your family or your partners about your finances, and I'll just share with you some of the interesting things some of the people I know and my friends told me. So we get right into it. So with the first one, I had one of my friends share with me. So she did say that, well, she believes that you and your partner should be able to talk about your finances, but not your family. So shout outs to you, Choco, you know who you are. And it was an important, so me and her kind of went back and forth as to why she thinks, you should be able to talk to your partner and not your immediate family. And for her issue, or well, her thought train was that, if you're with somebody, if you're with a partner, you're working as a unit. So you know what I'm saying? And in some way, shape or form, you're growing your life together. You're going on this path together. You become one, deciding or not whether to pursue life in a certain way. So it's important for you to discuss some of these issues, like i.e. finances, because at the end of the day, you're building a life together. So I thought it was an interesting point. I sort of did agree to a certain degree. I did have my opinions as well, but I'll talk about it later as well. So I had another person also who said, no, you do not have to tell your parents much, because obviously when your parents they don't tell you how much money they have in the bank. They do not discuss certain finances with you, and if you're investing or doing otherwise, they don't feel like you should tell them. but they feel like it's up to you to have that conversation with yourself. If you think it's going to be an important thing for you too, then they feel like you should discuss. Another person also said, personally, they wouldn't, unless of course they feel like they want to, but they don't think it's an obligation. So the question was whether or not it was an obligation, and they did say they don't think it's an obligation to do that, to tell your family about your finances or whatever it is. And I sort of agree. I do think that, there are people who feel like, growing up or however they're raised, like, there's certain things that you kind of hold off on before you talk about it. So especially when it comes to finances, because as much as family is important or your partner is important, there's certain things that as a person, personally, you might want to get out the way. You know what I'm saying? And until that happens, you don't feel comfortable sharing with somebody. So I thought that was a very good point as well. I'm gonna go into my Snapchat. I did have a couple over there as well that I want to share with you guys. So one of my friends was like, she usually asks her dad for financial advice because, he knows so much, and, it matters to her because, sometimes you kind of want to get business or financial advice from people who've been there or they're doing what you might want to do. So it kind of helps to kind of get, so for example, if it's a property you're trying to invest in, if it's, just say you're trying to do a savings, something, it's important for you to have the discussion with somebody who has sort of been there, because you might not know everything, and that's the truth. Like, you do not know everything in this world. So it's important for you to have that sort of conversation with people who have either been there before, so it kind of helps you navigate, because you always kind of want a mentor, just seeking advice. Like, it makes sense for you to kind of want to get that out there as well. So for me personally, like, I believe it kind of depends. Like, I look at the situation and kind of weigh in, what I'm doing, can I do it on my own, can I do my own research, can I actually sit down and read about what it is I want to do. If it's family, it depends. There's certain things I do tell my family, there's certain things I do not tell them, because I feel like these are personal things that decisions I'm going to have to take. When it comes to a partner, if it's a boyfriend or girlfriend, I don't think that sort of carries a lot of weight. But I think if it's somebody that potentially you could see yourself marrying, I think it's a totally different dynamic. But then again, I feel like it should be a conversation between you and them. At the end of the day, there are people that have different perspectives about certain things, especially when it comes to finances. And if you're comfortable enough telling them that you this is what you want to do, I think 100% you should go ahead. There's no going back from that. And if you kind of want to hold off until things, sometimes you want to do things for them to mature first before you kind of tell people about it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's in its early stages, me personally, when I'm doing something and it's in its early stages, I do not like to talk about it, because it hasn't yet matured, or it hasn't yet come into what I want to happen. So I kind of feel like it depends on the situation as well. So you kind of have to make the decision for yourself whether or not, like, it's something that you want to do. Now, secondly as well, we're talking about finances and whether or not you should tell people, but like, how do you actually make sure that you've made good financial decisions or good financial investments? And that's something I kind of wanted to talk about with a lot of people. Like, we're going into this world, or we're becoming mature adults, and our finances are going to be critical, whether it comes to having your credit card, if you're somebody that lives in abroad, your credit card, your credit, your net worth. I think these are all important things that people have to be mindful of, because what we don't realize is the system is set up in such a way that everything depends on these little things. So for example, what your credit looks like, because that will determine whether or not you can be able to buy a house, whether or not you can be able to secure a loan, whether or not you can be able to actually make other investments, like as well, like when it comes to real estate, if you want to go into that, or even starting a business, like your credit worth is really, really important to a lot of people. And I feel like if you're somebody that your credit worth isn't that high, I think that you should work solely on it. Take time to actually work on your credit. So someone might be wondering, like, what's a good credit for you to have? And I think anywhere between 750 or 730 and up is good. But anywhere above 700 is okay. But if you want to be able to have exposure to a lot of things, I'd say try and get your credit up to like a 750, between a 750 to 800. Because what you do not realize is it kind of is that foundation for everything. Like, say if you want to secure a loan, going on, you want to do certain things, to look at your credit worth. And if it's not that high, companies or businesses or banks do not trust you enough to be able to give you the kind of money that you need to be able to make some of these investments that you want. Now, on another note, how do you actually save up enough money to have enough things saved up? Like, at the beginning of the year, I told myself this, that I kind of wanted to have multiple streams of income. But what that meant was, like, I also had some work to do. I told myself, okay, I wanted to have a certain amount of money in savings or investments up to a certain figure. And I'm happy to say 4 months in, like, I'm about 60% near my goal. And what I'm even deciding to double my goal, because I think I can do more based on what I've achieved within the last 4 months, which has been incredible. Now, as a lot of young people, we're very tempted to do a lot of things, like spend money on food. Like we spend so much money on unnecessary things. I mean, food is important, but you don't have to be eating out every other day. Like, I have friends who are constantly eating out, constantly ordering food. I don't think all of those things are important right now, because I feel like you could be saving up for a whole lot. Like all those little expenses that you make, they all add up. People do not realize that little $5 you bought from Burger King, that little $10 you got from Wendy's, or that little $7 you spent on pizza or anything. I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm just saying it shouldn't become too often, like where you're spending so much money on these things. Now, so you ask yourself, what do I do? Like, you have, first and foremost, you have to discipline yourself. That's one thing that is very important. For you to be able to realize your financial goals, you have to be very, very disciplined. It takes a lot for you to become disciplined. So you have to do that. Other than that, you're going to be shopping unnecessarily. I remember a year ago, I spent so much money on clothes that I have actually not worn. They are still in my wardrobe. I haven't worn them for the past year, and I'm wondering, like, why did I spend so much money on these things? So, like, you kind of have to cut down costs on those things. If you're somebody that every single weekend you're at the club, you're splurging money,
place, party after party, then we mash up the place, Big
drill in the beat.
Yeah.
my friends, you have a problem. You have a serious problem. Because majority of the people that do that, they don't even do it for themselves. It's just so people can see that I've got money, I'm spending money, I'm good. All of that is not necessary. Like, I tell my friends every time, like, I'd rather have enough money in the bank than have somebody like street credit for having money when my bank account is empty. Like, I'd rather have a ton of money in my account and somebody to think otherwise of me than for me to have street cred, or when we go out, everybody knows, oh, McBrien has money, when my bank account is like negative. So it doesn't look good on you to splurge every weekend, buy bottles, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy yourself. Every now and then I think that's important to celebrate or to just have a good time. I think that's great. But my problem is, if you're doing this on a regular, then you have a serious problem, which I think you should address. Now, you might be asking yourself, like, what kind of investments or savings can I make? Now, you can go into a bunch of things, but I feel like the most basic is for you to start from a savings account. Now, once you start from a savings account, have enough money there, I think over a period of time, you're gonna have interest that add up to, it's not just your money. Your money would age with some interest on it, and then by the time a certain number of years or decades pass, you have enough money there. But I don't think that's it. I don't think a lot of people should stop at just a savings account. I think fundamentally, I think every single person should try and analyze whether or not they can have other types of investment, like a brokerage account or a retirement account. Now, you want to save for long term. So I've had a couple of people that approach me. Oh, I do a quick forex. Da 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 da. There's all these get rich quick schemes, like and for me, I'm not all about that. I don't want to have $1,000 in just 2 hours. I'd rather save or make proper investments for the long term. I think that's the most secure way for anybody to be able to make money. If you're sitting here today or you're watching me and you're thinking, I want to become a millionaire, I want to become a successful person, I think that one of the things you can actually count on as a good investment is a retirement or savings account. Now, there are different types of brokerage or retirement accounts. There's IRAs, which are individual retirement accounts, which for the most part allow you to save only a certain amount of money, and you can only withdraw past a certain age. So for example, if you're 50 and up, it's good for you to then you can actually withdraw. Or what is called a Roth IRA as well, which is also a different type of IRA, which is a good sort of investment or retirement account you can actually have. And these all have good tax benefits. So the good thing about IRAs or Roth IRAs is the fact that all the money that you put in there is going to grow. So there's a certain percentage, I think it's about 7 to 10%. I'm not quite sure what the market is right now. That amount of money is going to grow, and it grows tax free. So it grows tax free. So you don't have to pay any taxes on those money. So if say by age 60 you have $700,000, that $700,000 is yours to take. There's no taxes you have to pay on it, and you have $700,000 to spend in retirement. If you have $1 million, you have $2 million, all of that money goes to you. So I think it's a very good investment for people to make. Also, if you're somebody that wants to actually go into real estate as well, your credit, like I talked about earlier, is very critical. Like most banks, before they give you a loan, you cannot just, if you're somebody that's very fortunate enough to have enough cash to buy a house outright, kudos to you. But for the most part, people do not have that kind of money. So you go to a bank, they loan you money, and then you can use that loan to purchase a home or whatever it is. Now, it fundamentally relies on your credit, because that would determine how much money they will give you at what interest rate. The higher your credit is, or the better your credit is, the less interest you have to pay, because they know that you're somebody that is very good with their finances, and therefore you'll be able to pay back. So I think these are important things that everybody should think about. Like, I know as young people, we kind of don't feel like we have to. Maybe, for example, we're living with our parents or whatever. But I think it's getting to a point where I think every young person or everybody, that's actually going into the world soon to graduate, or perhaps is working right now, soon to start a career, should think about these things. Like, take some time, sit down, plan your life. What sort of changes do I need to make? Because these things will affect you from here on out. It's not just a one-time thing. They will follow you, like, from here on out. So I think everybody, wherever you are, if you're listening to me, I hope you have learned something from this, and you can actually make good financial decisions. Like, I'll be sharing more about some of the things I've been doing, some of the things, I'm looking to do. If maybe perhaps it might be able to help you to learn from me, and we'll see where that goes. But I do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, the link is below. Make sure you like and subscribe to me. I will be coming to you as often as I can. I'm still in school at the moment, so I'm still navigating, and I hope everybody's staying safe. I know COVID has been, done a lot of harm to a lot of people, and you know it's changed a lot. But we have to get used to the new normal and try and navigate things. You know, try and stay, you know, busy, read. You know, don't just be binge watching the movies and all of that. You know, try and grow, become better. You know, look at and do your research on what sort of good investments you can make as a person. And I think as a young person, the best investments you can make is in yourself. You know, whether it's increasing your knowledge, taking up, building some skills, all of these things would become important to you. So I hope you guys have learned something from this. Again, smash that like button and subscribe to me, and you know, let's make some magic together.